Lights, cameras, chaos, and a man who once ruled New York standing at the eye of a political storm. Welcome to Mayor Showdown 2025. Cuomo's comeback or chaos? This is like the city-sized plot twist that turned New York's mayoral election into the juiciest political drama of the decade. This isn't just another campaign, it's redemption, rivalry, and reality TV all rolled into one. The headlines write themselves, but honestly, the story behind them is even wilder. Andrew Cuomo, the three-term governor who resigned in 2021 amid scandal and political implosion, is back. That sentence alone sent New York politics into meltdown mode. His return wasn't a quiet exploration or a whisper campaign. It was a full-throttle declaration that he still has unfinished business with the city that once crowned him king. 4 years after his resignation, Cuomo re-emerged in early 2025, announcing his bid for mayor of New York City. And in classic Cuomo fashion, the comeback wasn't subtle. He stepped into the race with the confidence of a heavyweight who just refuses to stay down, instantly resetting the dynamics of the entire field. At first, the move seemed impossible. Public opinion was split. Half of New York groaned, the other half leaned forward in fascination. But when the polls started rolling in, something shocking happened. Cuomo surged to the top of the Democratic field. His name recognition and decades of government experience gave him an early edge that made strategists panic and pundits, well, salivate. Suddenly, the once-canceled politician was sitting in first place. The first few weeks of his campaign were classic Cuomo smooth press conferences, sharp rhetoric, and a promise to restore confidence and safety to the city. It wasn't a narrow squeak. It was a statement. The message from the left was clear. New York wants new blood, not recycled power. Yet if you thought that was the end of the Cuomo story, you clearly haven't followed his career. Cuomo didn't bow out, he doubled down. Within days of the primary loss, he announced an independent run for mayor, launching a new ballot line and declaring himself free from the dysfunction of partisan politics. He wasn't done fighting. The move sent political analysts into a frenzy and, well, Democrats into panic. A divided field meant there was a real risk of splitting the vote and handing victory to another faction. Cuomo's comeback was no longer just a campaign, it was an act of political defiance. Behind the scenes, the whispers began. Cuomo's inner circle, made up of loyal aides and seasoned consultants, started calling donors. Some corporate backers quietly reopened their checkbooks, betting that New Yorkers might actually prefer a familiar leader to an untested idealist. Union leaders hesitated, progressive groups mobilized, and the city braced for a historic three-way showdown. Cuomo's comeback wasn't just controversial, it was combustible. As the race heated up, the lines between politics and performance really blurred. Cuomo's team rolled out glossy ads promising to restore strength and safety to a city struggling with affordability, crime, and public mistrust. His campaign leaned into nostalgia, painting him as a steady hand in chaotic times. Opponents, however, reminded voters of his resignation, the allegations of harassment, the accusations of manipulating nursing home data during COVID, and, yeah, his reputation for political intimidation. The ghosts of Albany followed him everywhere, and New Yorkers were, pretty divided on whether to forgive or forget. Mamdani, by contrast, positioned himself as the anti-Cuomo young, progressive, idealistic. His rallies drew massive crowds of first-time voters and activists. His message wasn't about managing the city, it was about reimagining it. And honestly, it worked. Social media loved him. Cuomo, meanwhile, relied on television and newspaper endorsements, the tools of a pre-TikTok political era. The election quickly became a generational showdown, an ideological tug-of-war between old-school pragmatism and new-school progressivism. And then came the gossip layer, the delicious undercurrent that makes New York politics, well, just irresistible. Rumors swirled of backroom deals, late-night strategy calls, and calls from Washington checking in on the chaos. Some Democratic insiders allegedly begged Cuomo to drop out to prevent a split vote. Others urged Mamdani to strike a unity deal. Cuomo reportedly refused, insisting that the people, not party bosses, should decide. His defiance became his brand. Meanwhile, Curtis Sliwa, the perennial Republican voice and founder of the Guardian Angels, hovered at the edges of the race, promising law and order and ready to capitalize on a divided left. Add to that whispers of independent candidates, endorsements bouncing back and forth, and it began to feel less like an election and more like a political circus. Yet beneath all the theater, real stakes remained. New York's mayor isn't just a city job, it's a global platform. Whoever wins inherits a $100 billion budget, a police force larger than some armies, and a megaphone that echoes far beyond the Hudson. The city's future on housing, crime, and immigration policy really hinges on this race. Cuomo's bet was simple. Voters value results more than redemption. He hoped fatigue with ideological extremes might push moderates his way. His opponents painted a different picture. He's yesterday's news, one campaign strategist said. New York doesn't want a comeback. It wants a clean slate. But in politics, familiarity is power, and Cuomo's long shadow still stretched across the skyline. As the weeks rolled into October, polls began to tighten again. A third of voters said they might consider voting for him if no other candidate could manage the city better. The subtext here is that some wounds heal faster than expected when nostalgia meets fear. Through it all, Cuomo played his greatest role yet, the survivor. He gave interviews about redemption through service-held rallies where he spoke about growing up in Queens and promised to fight for every forgotten New Yorker. It was vintage Cuomo, earnest, intense, and slightly combative. When asked about his scandals, he deflected smoothly. The people will judge me on my record, not on rumors. The performance honestly bordered on Shakespearean, a fallen ruler seeking his crown in the city that both made and broke him. But as election day gets closer, the air is just electric with uncertainty. Could Cuomo really pull it off? Political experts say it's unlikely, but not impossible. In a three-way race, strange math can totally decide outcomes. If Mamdani and Sliwa split the vote in certain boroughs, Cuomo could slide through with a plurality, and that possibility alone is enough to keep the city's political class awake at night. Still, there's a broader question at play here, one that really transcends Cuomo himself. Does America still allow for second acts? Can a politician tainted by scandal reinvent himself in the age of social media, where mistakes just never die? Or is Cuomo's campaign simply a reminder that power, once tasted, is impossible to give up willingly? In cafes and subway cars, the talk is constant. Some see him as a tragic figure, others as a cautionary tale. But everyone agrees on one thing: Cuomo has turned what should have been a routine mayoral race into a must-watch political drama. Love him or loathe him, he's made the city care again. The story of Mayor Showdown 2025 isn't just about Andrew Cuomo, it's about New York's soul, the battle between pragmatism and progress, nostalgia and change, redemption and accountability. It's a test of whether the city of reinvention still believes in comeback stories, or if it's finally ready to close the book on them. As the polls tighten and election day looms, one truth remains: no matter who wins, New York will never be the same. Cuomo's shadow will linger, Mamdani's rise will reshape the city's politics, and the question of power, how it's gained, lost, and reclaimed, will keep echoing long after the ballots are counted. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into New York's wildest political twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow political junkies, because in this city, every comeback has a sequel, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.